really got into this business just to really make money. That was my focus. And I think if you're getting into anything just to make money, that might not be the right way to be looking. You've got to really think about long term. And if you're willing to just think about money, that's pretty short term. And that's kind of what led us into just putting bodies and seats in our brokerage instead of finding the right team members.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Joe Killinger. He's been an active member in the real estate industry for over 30 years, wearing different hats and at times multiple hats. Joe looks like you've been an agent, investor, syndicator, you name it here on this bio. As I mentioned before we started recording, I'm going to let you tell that story and about all those hats. But first I'll say thank you. Thanks for coming on the show today. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I look forward to telling my story. Hopefully I can make it appealing for everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, let's start there. Let's hear about your background. I just learned that we're both in Los Angeles area,
Yeah.
so that's we've got that in common. So tell me a little bit about your story and your background and what got you where you are today.
Yeah. It started in the Midwest, a town of 281 people called Walbach, Nebraska, Wolbach. Small school, graduated 13 kids, I grew up on a working farm. But when I was there growing up, my father was getting his real estate license and his auctioneer's license. And he was auctioneering pretty much everything, livestock, machinery. And then he got into real estate. And when he got into real estate, I'm like, okay, this is interesting to me. And so I started listening to him, and I'd go sit with him and go through the contracts with him, and he would take the time to show me. And I just kind of caught the real estate bug at a very young age. And I knew I wasn't going to be a farmer. I absolutely hated it, but it's real work. It's a great place to be to start your life because you really learn what hard work looks like. And farming, especially back then, it's not like it is now. It was back then, it was a lot of small farmers. You had, your 300-400 acres that you lived off of. And now, even where I grew up, they've leveled it all. And, we had to have smaller equipment because the hills would be, you can't do that with the big equipment. So they leveled it all out, and all those homesteads are gone. But it was amazing place to really learn how to be responsible. And, because you're 12, 15 years old out in the middle of a field all by yourself, quite a ways away from home, you didn't want to make a mistake. And so you really learned responsibility and respect for equipment very quickly. And but I wanted to get on to getting my education. And I went to the University of Nebraska. I got my real estate license while I was there. And for some reason, this company in Lincoln, Nebraska called Wood Brothers Realty, I went in and interviewed with them, and they decided to bring me on, which I look back, I'm like, what were they thinking? I'm 18 years old. I look like I was 12. And they decided to go ahead. And then they put a phone book in front of me, and the owner of the company just said, Joe, do you think you're a good person? I said, yes. And he showed me the people in the phone book. He goes, these people deserve to work with a good agent. That was my training.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. And fortunately, a couple of people took me under their wing. And I really got into doing farm and land sales. And I love that. But back at home, my parents ended up losing the farm. They gave it back, which ended up being a positive story. I ended up having to leave college, and I ended up just driving to California. That's where I started. But when my father lost the farm, he went into the office that said, you owe this amount in taxes and insurance and all this. He goes, it's not worth any of that. You guys are way off on your valuations. And, and he told them that on some other properties. And so he gave the farm back. He went back in and the next day and threw the keys to the place on the desk. And him and my mother and my little sister all moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, and because that's all they could afford. But lo and behold, that turned into a positive because that office then started giving my dad some of the broker price opinion work. So then he started getting some sales from that. So it was a good story in the end, but I ended up in
Yep.
California and I ended up getting my real estate license and started all over, tried to do residential, figured out that wasn't really for me. Ended up moving to Los Angeles, doing some partnering with some guys in some flips and started
Mhm.
doing that. And on the side had a what was now Jamba Juice. I had that system. I was putting them in small gyms around LA and running that business with my then girlfriend. So I had those two things going. And I ended up letting her take over that business when we broke up, and I kept doing the flips, which we ended up losing. The economy turned on us, and we ended up getting out without really losing a lot of money, but we ended up losing. We just shut the business down. And then I ended up doing real estate auctions because that was familiar to me here in Los Angeles, and started doing those. And the my now business partner George Pino, he was there, and he ended up got moved into his department at this big auction company. And when that company went public, they ended up laying a bunch of people off. And so my staff was some of the people I was working with, some of them. I got moved. George became my boss. Cut to a couple months later, he had to lay me off. And then a couple months later, he got laid off. And then he called me, and I brought him in as my partner. And I've been making him pay for 20 some years for laying me off. And then we started building some businesses, and we started our own auction company here in Los Angeles. That went very well. We became the number 2 auction company within 18 months. It was going very well. We ended up working with some residential offices. We end up now with our own brokerage company called Commercial Brokers International, full service real estate brokerage. We do investing. We own properties. We're actually getting ready to start raising a small fund right now. We have Icon Capital. There's a commercial real estate mortgage company. And we have Commercial Real Estate Affiliate Network that is a group of independent commercial real estate brokerages around the country that all work together to draw in business. It helps us compete against the CBREs, the JLLs of the world. So launched that during COVID because I had nothing else to do, and I knew we needed to be part of a system, a networking system, and that's how we ended up here. But now with Commercial Brokers International, we've got 21 agents, and growing, and we're looking at opening another office in Orange County to complement the one here in Los Angeles. And then I have the joekillinger.co. It's just something I do because it is really to help people that want to get into commercial, actually just to be a real estate agent. If you want to learn how to be a real estate agent, I've done both sides of it for a lot of years. I do a lot of training for that because I just think that there are so many people that should be taking a look at this industry because if you're a real entrepreneur, commercial real estate brokerage is a business for you because the average age of a broker is 55 to 62, somewhere in there. And everybody has been born with these things in their hands, right? They know how to market themselves. And the older people aren't doing it. And there's just a huge opportunity for young people to come into this industry and make a ton of money. So I do this and really try to give guidance, have a YouTube channel under my name. And on this, if you go into Joe Killinger and then you go into Learn, I put a free booklet up there that I wrote, Your First 90 Days in Commercial Real Estate for the new people. And then for the more experienced people, the process that George and I went through when we launched our Commercial Brokers International and all the mistakes we made to kind of give a path to not do what we did. Sure. Because, wow, we made a lot of mistakes we shouldn't have. And so I guess that in a nutshell is everything.
Yeah, that you weren't kidding about a lot of hats. I mean, that's I mean, in at the surface, it sounds like a whole bunch of things, right? Like a whole,
Right.
But they're all interrelated within the real estate world, and I think that's one of the things that I sometimes maybe people that aren't entrepreneurs, they haven't run a business or started a business, and they start to hear about stories like yours where it's like, oh, he this and this, and they're like, I don't understand how one person can do all those things. Right. And it's I think you would, and I will actually I want you to answer that question, but I mean, ultimately, I think in a lot of ways, the way to do all those things is teams, but also like keeping things at least in the similar lane,
Yeah.
if you will, where it's like, okay, these things tie in together. A brokerage and a lender, teaching other brokers. I mean, all of those things kind of tend to be um, related in some way. But I would love it if you would talk a little bit about that, because I do feel like when you tell a story like that, it's like, that's amazing. Look at all the things you've accomplished, but it's in a 3-minute summary, it
Yeah.
probably sounds daunting to people. So how do you do all those things, Joe?
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
How do we execute? Is putting the right people in place. We launch them and then we bring in the right people. Like Icon Capital Advisors, we have an incredible partner in Texas called BMC Capital, and they've been doing this business for 30 years. We're partners with them on that, and I go out and find deals and we shovel it through the system, easy peasy. So I really have very little to do there. Commercial Real Estate Affiliate Network, I've got a great team that's running that. And it's just, and they all complement each other, like you said. So if I have somebody from the affiliate network that needs a loan, we just shoot them over to Icon Capital Advisors. Or if they have somebody that needs commercial real estate in Los Angeles, Commercial Brokers International. But probably the one that takes the most time is the Joe Killinger, because we put a short video out 4 days a week, and we put a long form video out 1 day a week. Those take time. And so, but other than that, again, it's a team. I have an editor that knows how to do this stuff very, very well, and she can knock it out very quickly. But, and then it's giving the team the path to execute, making sure we're all on the same page every day and understanding where we're going with everything. And so it's communication from the top, and and then just stepping back and let them do what they're good at. I couldn't do most of what these guys do. I mean, if I had to do this on my own, first of all, there's not enough hours in the day. And
Right.
these people, this is what they do. And so, you've got to find the right team, and you've got to find the right hire. And it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I do. That has been maybe one of the biggest revelations for me in doing this podcast is speaking with people like yourself, trying to take some of those lessons and implement them in my own life and business. But the truly successful people that have been doing it for a long time, had multiple businesses, multiple levels of success, they always talk about the team. They always talk about, kind of getting the right people in the right seats around them, and then just trying to, sort of steer that ship, and how they also, like yourself, they talk about it kind of with comfort and ease,
Yeah.
not like, oh, I have all these people I have to take care of and blah blah blah. It's like, oh no, I've built a team that sort of runs this business for me, which I think is really a testament to management and your skill in growing businesses.
What's the hiring?
Maybe
You've got to hire the right people. You want to hire slow. Don't be in a rush to bring. We made that mistake with our brokerage, to be honest with you, Jason. So when we first started, we hired people that we only did like one interview and a conversation, and we would bring them on, and then we'd get them in the office, and it just wasn't worth it. So now we do like at least two, maybe usually three interviews with them. and before you even extend an offer, because it's just not to put all this time and effort into people and then it not
Mhm.
work out. You know, time is something that is very expensive when you're on commission. And so, and you can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so you've got to make sure you're hiring. And I was just having a conversation with a young man right before we came on today, and he's got an interview for a brokerage tomorrow. And I do a lot of mentoring, and this is one of them. And he's like, "Yeah, I hope they hire me." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. That's not the attitude." Is I want you to go in and ask all these questions. I gave him a list of like 10 questions about what does a training program look like? What is a mentoring program? Is there any way I can create additional revenue by being with this company? And then I want you to talk to other brokers in the company before you decide if, because it has to be your first brokerage that well, it doesn't have to be your first one. You just, when you're getting hired by a brokerage, you want to make sure you're asking the right questions, because you want to make sure it's a good fit too, because it's your
Right.
career. It's the base of your business. And so you got to make sure you're interviewing that brokerage as much as they're interviewing you, and don't just take the first one. And
Mhm.
I said, you got to be prepared to be a waiter a little bit longer, because this may not be the best fit for you. Really take the time tomorrow to decide. As a matter of fact, call me afterwards.
Yeah.
And so,
Don't just say yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't just say yes. Call me afterward. Let's talk about it, because it's very important. Because if you get into a firm, and a lot of firms will do this, they'll make you a nice offer, but then when you get into the shop, you don't get what they said they were going to offer. And
Mhm.
so don't be in a rush. Make sure you decide that this is the firm that I think I can really grow with, and do your due diligence. Make sure that everything this company is telling you is exactly what they've been saying. Check their reviews, check everything. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, it's so powerful what that experience, what your experience brings to being able to mentor other people. And I think this particular problem, I don't know, problem's the right word, challenge that is faced is probably cross industry. I mean, I'm a veterinary surgeon. That's part of my career path as well, and I've trained residents, and so I think so many people go through life where it's levels of schooling and training and all of this, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to convince them to take me to be accepted to a good college. Then I'm trying to convince someone to take me to be an intern or whatever, and at whatever level, you're always trying to convince someone else that they should take you and do all the things, and then at some point that sort of dynamic shifts where you actually are the talent in the driver's seat, and you need to look at it that way. Like, employers are always going to look at it that way. They're always going to be
yeah,
looking for, what do you bring to the table for them, as they should. But you also, as that person going for a job, whatever it is, as a broker, what you want to make sure that it is the right fit for you, and that they're valuing your skill set. You're probably going to get it wrong sometimes, just like
of
businesses are
course,
going to get
yeah,
it wrong sometimes, right? Like, we as a business, you can hire the wrong person. As an employee, you can take the wrong job. But I think sort of that's where the mentorship comes in helping people, because it would I would have residents that I train come back with their first contract offer, and they're like, "Do you think I should take this?" I'm like, "I don't know. Does it have everything you want? Probably shouldn't just say yes to the first thing that comes across the table. Like, think about it. What's important to you?" And I think that's such a valuable, I guess, service to provide people, where you're mentoring them to kind of find
not
find
be
something
limited.
that, yeah, it's and our jobs, whether you own the business or you work for a business, it's probably where you're going to spend most of your time.
Yeah,
Like, most of your time is there, and that's such a valuable commodity. As you just mentioned, you can't get it back. So you want to really put some thought and effort into making the right decisions around where that time is going to be spent, and what it means for you in the long term. So
absolutely.
um, Super, super valuable. When so the you've seen real estate from a number of different angles. Uh, Sounds like you also went through. Well, maybe this was it the Great Recession where where the farm was lost? Is that kind of the timing on
That
that?
was after, but yeah, it was just a sign of the times, and it's kind of farming is very tough because I was reading, I was just in Nebraska. I go back to my hometown rodeo every year. It's in June every year. And so I was talking to them and I saw beef prices there because I thought it's because you're here in California that was so expensive. And I saw beef prices. I'm like, your prices aren't much different than Los Angeles. They go, no, there's a shortage of beef.
Hmm.
There was, it's been, they've closed a beef packing plant down in a town nearby. There's just not enough cattle. When prices were so high, farmers dumped their cattle because they didn't want to deal with all the costs. And so you're going to see the next 2, 3 years, beef is going to stay very expensive. But, when you're a farmer, you are probably the ultimate entrepreneur because you have to understand weather patterns. You have to understand soil. You have to
Yeah.
understand veterinary. You have to understand how
Yeah.
to be a veterinary. You've got all of that. It's a true entrepreneur, but what a tough business, but I loved it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I in vet school had a we were part of the curriculum is spend a month at least as a with a farm veterinary service, but also we did a I forget what they called it, but it's like 3 days in a like with a farmer. I mean, basically like
Oh
went and
yeah,
worked on a farm
yeah,
for 3 days. I mean, those are some of the probably the three hardest days
yeah,
of that in terms of just. I mean, it was like start at 4:30 in the morning,
yeah.
work, I don't know, until it was well after dark, kind of,
Yeah.
and as you said, doing a million different things where it was like,
Real physical labor.
yeah, it's real physical labor. You
Yeah,
have to know weather patterns, feed,
yeah,
machinery. I mean, I remember one of the large pieces of equipment, one of the hydraulics busted while he was
mm,
on it, and he fixed it. And I was like,
yeah,
this guy just he just
yeah,
knew how to do everything on the farm,
yeah.
and I
They
think
do.
that's not uncommon. And interesting you mentioned beef prices. I just read an article today that was like that's going to be the new eggs thing. Like
Yeah,
egg prices went up so much, now beef prices are up and up to stay for some of the reasons that you cited. They said basically Walmart has opened its own farm so that they could continue to sell beef at a
really.
reasonable price. So yeah, um, it's a fascinating world, and I'm sure taught you a ton about being an entrepreneur and being able to wear multiple hats. But
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
so
It
you've
was a good
seen
base.
right, you've seen some things, right? You've seen
Hmm.
some you've been through recession before, and
Oh yeah.
so the where I was going with this mainly is about kind of what we've been going through over the last few years with interest rates and things. How has that impacted you in the commercial brokerage world? I mean, what have you seen, and what do you kind of maybe see on the horizon?
It's investment sales are kind of slow right now. People are waiting for the interest rates to come down. There's a lot of, and this is a cycle I see every time. When interest rates go down, people over leverage. And then when rates go up, how are they going to refi and make this work? Because
Yep.
rates are down 1.5%, 2%, and then all of a sudden they're up to 4, 5, 6. And commercial loan, you have to renew it. Well, you can't renew it because the cash flow is too tight. You were able to buy it only
Yep.
because of the interest rate. You're going to end up giving that property back to the bank, or the bank is going to have to work with you. We saw a lot of that, and you've got to always be smart because, interest rates are so low. I've seen all these people on social media just bought another 20 units, just bought another 40 units, just bought another 200 units and bragging about it. I'm like, okay, but what, and then we're looking at some of the numbers because they're coming into Icon Capital Advisors. We're like, this isn't going to work when the rates go up. These people are going to end up giving this property back. So it all has to come into the due diligence. And, I don't know whatever happened to those properties, but we definitely didn't lend on it. I'm sure they found somebody that would, but probably made them put more down. So when they did foreclose on it, the bank had a good position on it, was able to sell it for pennies on the dollar. But you got to be smart about it no matter what. It comes down to the fundamentals. And right now, fundamentals and investments aren't too bad at all. Single tenant net lease deals, you're starting to see them, like triple net deals around the country, are starting to take off. Multifamily, it depends on where you're at. You got to remember that real estate is such a local business that, if I'm in a high rise in Brentwood right now, if you move this same building down about half a mile, it's a completely different tenant base that's going to be leasing here, a completely different price point. So you really have to really study the fundamentals. And investors are kind of sitting on the investment side right now, watching and studying right now. And so, but retail going very strong. Triple net deals are going strong. Industrial staying pretty strong. Overall, we're seeing some pretty good stuff. But if and when they do raise the rates, I think you're going to see a lot of capital. It's a lot of dry powder sitting on the sideline right now.
Mm-hmm. Are you focused in California, or are you brokering kind of all over? What's your
so we've
market
done deals in 39 states. Mostly, those are mostly triple net deals, but our brokerage is based in Los Angeles. We focus on the Los Angeles market, but our affiliate network, we can help anybody looking for commercial real estate in pretty much any major city in the U.S.
Okay. And the reason I asked that mainly is sort of the follow up when you're talking about those dynamics. Are you talking throughout
I'm
country
talking about LA.
or throughout LA? Okay,
LA and some. I mean, like I know Texas right now, you want to be careful with multifamily because, there's not going to be a lot of development coming up. They're just starting to redevelop again. Prices have come down. There's a lot that's been hitting the market from several years ago. It's just starting to hit now. They're developing and now it's coming on. So prices have come down or stabilized. Dallas, Austin. I don't know about Fort Worth. I don't know about Houston, but it just depends on where you're at. You just want to make sure that you find a good broker or you study that market very, very well. But we're mostly Los Angeles based.
Gotcha. Okay, good. For people can. Well, then I'll ask this question because California gets a lot of hate at least in the online world about real estate here and things like that. We both live here. I have a different opinion of that. I think California real estate just continues to go up. But obviously that's market, like you said, hyper local asset class, all of that comes into play. You come from Nebraska, sort of a different world. What do you think about that? What do you think about the people that say, "Oh, you can't invest in California"? There seems to be a lot of that, even from people that live in California, which I think is sometimes ironic. But what's your take on that?
We get a lot of people from California who say, "Listen, I want to invest in red states only," and I get that because they're talking about all the restrictions. Is what they're doing. We have great appreciation play here in Los Angeles or in California, and so it's a great place to invest. Now, you want to make sure you know the markets because there's some cities that make it very, very hard. If you're multifamily, you just got to make good operators. You've got great operators in every market. And if you're a really good operator, and it depends on your return. I mean, sure, you're going to get higher returns in other states, but you're not going to get a return on cash. You're getting more cash coming in every month, but you're not going to get an appreciation play. You want to buy in Nebraska, you're going to get more cash flow than you are appreciation. So here in California, you get more appreciation and a little less cash flow. But you got to be a good operator. No matter what you do, you've got to be a good operator here because, there's restrictions that have come on for multifamily, for the housing. And, the insurance situation across the country has made it, we just had a client that went from $5,000 a year for their insurance to $17,000. And that hurts. That cuts in pretty deep. So you've just got to make sure that when you're looking for opportunities, you understand your numbers that you want to get to, and you find the right person that's going to help you find the right properties. Because I was just talking to an insurance guy the other day, and he was trying to insure this building. It's nothing but a bunch of studios in East LA, and paid a premium for them. And I'm like, that's it. And the building hadn't been upgraded. They're going to upgrade it. And I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. The math just doesn't math. You've got all these restrictions, and insurance is giving some new restrictions, I guess. They want to have a 45-inch high handrails, which is unusual. So I don't know if that's new or not. I got to check into that. But yeah, you want to make sure you get the right people that are protecting your back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what, if anything, you can take away from, the last few years in real estate, and probably, I would imagine this goes along with any sort of recessionary or down market type of scenarios. As you said, operations is by far the most important aspect of what you're trying to do there. You've got to sort of operate, 4 times as well as you did when the market was just shooting up for sort of
this is more reality reasons. Now.
Yeah.
It wasn't reality before. It was just too easy. And people that had no experience were doing it and thought they were making money. But in the end, they're probably going to give some of the properties back. But, when at one point in my career, interest rates were 17, 18%. And people were still investing, so it's just where we're at right now. To me, interest rates are still pretty damn low. But I think if all goes well, they do get them reduced, and then you're going to see some capital hitting the market.
Yeah, you'll see people get excited again pretty quickly. Well, great. Well, Joe, let me shift gears here. I want to make sure I get to ask you. Sort of the title of the podcast is Know Your Why, and so my my main question to every guest is kind of what is your why, and I'm always. I love it's the reason that the podcast is what it is, but I find that people that have been in the real estate game for a long time, like more than 5 years, and have seen multiple market cycles, I always love to hear kind of your perspective on what keeps you going, what keeps it sort of exciting to you.
I just love doing the deals, and probably for me now, Jason, is the most. I really got into this business just to really make money. That was my focus, and I think if you're getting into anything just to make money, that might not be the right way to be looking. You've got to really think about long term, and if you're willing to just think about money, that's pretty short term, and that's kind of what led us into just putting bodies and seats in our brokerage instead of finding the right team members. Yeah. And so now I really make sure it's a good fit for company culture. It's a good fit. I'm in the office every day. I want to be around somebody every day. And, I've got some agents that I go toe to toe with on occasion. And then we see you tomorrow. That's it. Yeah. That's as far as we go, because there's a lot of respect there. And, I've got some amazing people, but, when I started building for longevity and, the other stuff just kind of followed through, and it really changed my management style from let's just get deals done to let's take a look at each deal. Let's see what's going to fit. How do we make it work? And learning that empathy and negotiations is maybe the strongest that you can have. I mean, it's strongest skill you can have, because when you actually know what the other person wants and why they want it, now you can really kind of come to terms. And before, I was always just trying to shove this is what we need. And so I think that was important. But for me now, it's building the right team. And when I would turn that corner, now I love being in the office. I love being around the people. We do lunch every day together. Friday, we all went out and had lunch in Brentwood at the Brentwood Country Mart. Good people that, that's important. That's important to me. And it turns out I wished I'd learned that a little younger, because, I think it could have been made more money then, instead of hiring people that we had ended up just letting go. And for us in commercial real estate, it's very expensive to bring an agent on that's not going to perform, because we have all these systems that we pay for every month for these agents, and it's thousands of dollars per month per agent. And I lost all that because I just wasn't focused properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. it's maybe a little bit. Maybe it sounds a little bit cliche, but culture first, I think is such an important piece in business, and it again, I think that the sentiment you just shared gets echoed by people that have the experience to have, kind of done it, maybe done it both ways, and been been much more happy with, focusing on people and culture and all of that, and then, kind of bringing the systems and technology to support it. I think makes a ton of sense. So that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, this is great. I mean, what's the best way for people to reach out to you when they hear this and they're, kind of interested in connecting?
Yeah, they can go to the website, joekillinger.co, or you can just email me at joe@joekillinger.co. That's pretty easy too. And that's really it. If you're thinking about getting into real estate, make sure you check out those booklets under Learn, and it'll help you a lot. And there's books, and all this is free. There's no charge on this. It's all there. It's just something that I wish somebody would have done for us, because I just think, we need to grow this industry, and I think it's a huge opportunity for everybody. So just reach out if you have any questions.
Perfect. And we'll get that stuff in the show notes so people can find you easily. They'll also have the website right behind you. They should be able to see that if they're watching this on video, so that's perfect. Listen, Joe, this was great. Thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing everything that you did. I think there's so much value to be gained just by listening to your story, and then, people want to connect and look at a more formal mentorship. It's great that that's available. So thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me on, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, thanks for listening. Please make sure you connect with Joe, and please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get more great guests. As always, thank you for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?